First off, when we were trying to figure this out, Lance said, hey, Chuck, I want to make sure that nobody gets really boring. So I want to use the Inman approach. And I just want everybody to come in and just bring in a power-packed 15 minutes or 20 at the most. So everybody was given that amount of time with the exception of the tax attorney tomorrow and the economist. And that being the case, I was trying to figure out, so if I was given 20 minutes to put info out to, and again, this is going to be streamed. I'd say thousands of people are going to be watching everything that we're presenting here today. And you've only got 20 minutes to sum up the things you need to do to live your best life. I was kind of stressed out about it. And then I thought it through. I'm like, okay, I'm 48. I've been around for a while. I've taken some licks. I've been socked in the face a few times, just like all of us have. And that being the case, ups and downs, I think I've learned a couple things over the years, being a realtor and in life and just from all the panels we've done and everything. So I thought I would just jump right in with giving you guys what I believe is the necessary components for the perfect day, but most importantly, to plan out the rest of your time on this little floating ball of dirt through the sky and through space. So first off, I just wanted to tell you, I'm going to give you 10 points that I think we should all be considering every day. And the first one is to really accomplish things in our life and to finish, strong and to live the life we want. I think the first thing we have to do is kind of decide what we want our lives to look like. And as we're looking at that, to do that, to say, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I want to look like? What do I want my family situation to look like? My business situation to look like? We have to be realistic and say, well, first thing we have to do is we have to start here. And I was reading a book the other day, and it talked about we're all basically that little star that you see in the mall. When you go up and you've got that big directory and you're like, where am I now? I got to find that shoe store or this or that. And the main thing is just being realistic with where we are now as we look to move forward with where we want to go with the directions in the rest of our life. So I just want you all to just consider that we are that star in the mall. So we have to be realistic with where we're starting before we determine where we're headed. And so when we're looking down the road at ourselves, I think we have to not just look at our physique and, trying to be physically fit and making sure we're healthy and live strong into our, our older years, but it's also kind of our purpose. And that I think seems to be the hardest thing for everybody is to figure out like, what's my real purpose and what should I be doing here, during my time? And so I think we should all be thinking about that. And some people are very fortunate and they know why they're here. I was just watching Garth Brooks yesterday, this special, and he saw this special and he saw, I think it was Hank Williams Jr. or something. He heard the song and he knew for the rest of his life exactly what he wanted to do and why he was supposed to be here. And we don't all get that, right? We don't all get that. So we just have to determine, though, the things we do know is we can figure out what kind of mom we want to be, what kind of dad we want to be, what kind of significant other we want to be, and sibling and friend and all that sort of stuff. But that's one part of it. The other part of it, and which is why we're all really here today, because it's a business call, is where do we want to go financially? And how do we want to reach our financial freedom? And I think that's what everybody on this call should be thinking about is, do you have a plan so that at some point you don't have to sit here and get beat up by buyers and get beat up by sellers because you can just say, I don't want to work with those people. You have enough financial freedom going on that you have the ability to work with who you want, do what you want, and again, money's not everything, but money allows you to be more of who you want to be and work with who you want to be. So creating financial independence is one of the things I think we have to look at down the road as we're planning out 2021 and the rest of our lives. So again, where are you now realistically and where do you want to go? So the number one is, what do you want your life to look like? Number two, and I can tell you this from all the books I've read, from all the super studs that I hang out with, from everybody from Peter to the billionaire that we had on the call 2 weeks ago to all these guys, you have to be proactive in your daily life. You have to make sure that you are not just reacting. Because I think what happens with real estate agents, I see it all the time, and not just real estate agents, but people in general, they show up to work and they're just sitting there waiting to see what's thrown at them that day, instead of having a plan and moving forward and going and getting it. So, and I'm sure you guys see that in your offices too, and around the world. You see people that just show up and they're just waiting for things to come. I'm going to react. Oh, a buyer called, hopefully, a seller called, or this inspection came in. Instead of being the person that says, I'm going to go get it, I'm going to be proactive. So I just want to say, work towards the life vision that we just talked about, and don't let the world create you. You determine what you want to be and you go get it. And that's the second thing, is being proactive. Number 3 for me, it's the get it done list. And I don't know, some people tell me I'm just not a get it done list person. I don't like a to-do list. I don't like a task list. Like, I don't work that way. But I'd say for most of us as real estate agents, we need that. We need a to-do list. And there's so much power in those things. And I interviewed a lady named Kathy Meisner. She's the number 1 Old Republic, not just Old Republic, but the number 1 home warranty rep in the entire planet. And I mean, last time I talked to her, she had 1,600 transactions open at that time. Think about the massive number of that, 1,600. And I sat her down and I said, Kathy, I said, tell me, like, why are you such a badass? Like, how have you done this? And she said, well, basically, Chuck, she said, it all comes down to my get it done list. And she said, the night before I go to bed, I always sit down with a pad of paper and I write out all the things that I need to get done the next day. She said, I'm a rep. So I pop my trunk open. I got my candies. I got this. I got that. She says, I know who I want to meet that day. I know when the sales meetings are for each one of these people. And she said, I am so dialed in, Chuck, that when I wake up the next morning, I can walk right into that situation knowing anything and everything I need to do. So that get it done list does it for her when she makes it. And also, it's not just that get it done list, but it's also prioritizing that list. And when I say prioritizing that list, it means here's the things I need to do tomorrow. I'm going to do the hardest things first. So when I get in at 8:30 or 9 or whatever, I'm going to do those hard things and get them out of the way so that I can get back to trying to work on the things that are going to help me get to the life that I'm trying to live. So I thought that was a good one from her. And for me, it's not just a days list. Like if you go to my phone and my notes, I have today's list. I have a 30-day list. I have a end of the year list. I have a by 50 list. I have, I know the date I want to retire, and I know that I have 9 years to get there. If I wanted to retire, I don't plan on it, but I know exactly where I need to be and the steps that I need to take to get there. And hopefully you all have that. Like, when do you want to retire? At what age? Don't worry about Social Security. Obviously retirement is not about, I'm 62 or 65 or 67. It's like, I got the money that I no longer need to work. So you should also have that written in your get it done list, because there's things you need to get done by the time you want that to happen. So number 4, make decisions that future you will thank you for. And what I mean is, when you wake up in the morning, I thought this was a big one. My son's come home, he comes from the Marines or whatever, and he always brings a box of donuts. And then he leaves, right? So I'm sitting there looking at a box of donuts, and then I got oatmeal, I got donuts, I got oatmeal, and I'm trying to think, like, which one is future Chuck going to thank me for? And I know that seems minor, but when I think of that as donuts now, I'm trying to think like, fat bastard from Austin Powers, or whether it's Ben Stiller from Dodgeball, Chuck Norris, whatever. Like, that's how I see myself. So I avoid those donuts, and I go for the oatmeal. But future me thanks me for that, because you got a week later, all of a sudden you're like, what happened? So I want to be Tom Brady Whitehead, not fat bastard. So, anyways, okay, decisions. Another one is, what time do you get up? I remember Todd Conklin's on the call, and he told me that he texts every single person when they have a closing at his company. This was a couple years back. And he said, well, and I said, well, how in the world do you do 3,000 transactions? How do you find the time to text everybody to congratulate them? And he said, I do it first thing in the morning at 5 o'clock. And I said, at 5 a.m. And I said, well, how in the world do you do that? And he goes, well, I get up because I always get texts back, like 9 o'clock from some of my agents. They'll be like, you text me at 5 o'clock. What the heck are you doing up? And Todd said, that's what time winners get up. And that kind of stuck with me, because that time in the morning, that's when we can really get stuff done. So Todd, that one stuck with me. Next thing is, you have to determine time frame wise, not only what time do you want to get up, but what time do you start work? And, I know with Wes, they have calls every morning at 8:30. So that gets everybody fired up, in Coldwell Banker, that, hey, 8:30 is what time we start. We jump on that call, then we hit our days. But we are our own bosses. So we have to determine what time do we want to get up in this environment. So I say this, figure out, since you're your own boss, what time do you want to get up? Slap your name tag on, right? So that you feel like, hey, I'm in state, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to be Mr. Coldwell Banker, Mrs. Coldwell Banker, and I'm going to get going today. But I would say get dressed. And the people that have their cameras on, is that because you're not dressed? You need to get dressed. All right, you got to get up and get dressed. So it's just important that you put your tag on and get in state as quick as you can. So don't forget, you're the boss. So morning oatmeal versus, donuts just makes me think of, Navy, and I'm going to show you guys a clip right now from Navy SEAL Admiral McRaven, and I'm sure many of you have seen this before, and it's very short, but I think it's very telling. So Adam, you mind rolling that? So check this out, guys.
In SEAL training,
volume up.
My instructors, who at the time were all Vietnam veterans, would show up in my barracks room, and the first thing they'd do was inspect my bed. If you did it right, the corners would be square, the covers would be pulled tight, the pillow centered just under the headboard, and the extra blanket folded neatly at the foot of the rack. It was a simple task, mundane at best, but every morning we were required to make our bed to perfection. That seemed a little ridiculous at the time, particularly in light of the fact that we were aspiring to be real warriors, tough, battle-hardened SEALs. But the wisdom of this simple act has been proven to me many times over. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better. So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
So for me, that resonated. I don't know. Did you guys like that? I mean, I thought that was pretty powerful. And so now, first thing I do is I get up and I run around and make my bed. But, when he said that it gives you a sense of pride, when it says that we need to focus on the little things, because it is funny that those little things that we do, the breakfast you choose, making your bed, what time you get up, whether you choose to go for a run in the morning, whatever that may be, will make a difference for the rest of your life. So the small things count. And again, like you said, if you can't do the small things right, how will you ever be able to do the big things right? And it stuck with me. I loved it. So I had to share that. Number 6, and I know I sound like a broken record, but given that we are all, and I know, everybody, most people on this call are really good at it, but I sound like a broken record, but prospecting and creating buyers and sellers should always be our number one priority. So, I actually have something else that I'm going to kind of pitch out there too, but number one, like every day, I think the majority of us avoid prospecting because they don't like the word. Like even saying the word prospecting, some of you guys are like, oh my God, it's door knocking, it's cold calling, it's this, it's that, it's whatever. But don't think of it as prospecting. Think of it as finding buyers and sellers, because as new agents come into this business, and we have a lot of them, we have like 75 that have come in right now that are, less than 6 transactions that have joined us. There's a lot of people from COVID are jumping in business right now. They don't realize that, the hardest part of being successful in real estate is having buyers, is having sellers. And if you don't have them, you have nothing to practice on. And having more buyers and more sellers solves all problems. If you get a deal that falls, you don't care. You move on to the next one. So I think that make sure that part of your day is scheduled and blocked out for prospecting. And my guess is, and you guys look at yourself when I say this, because I believe this is most of us. Most of us are not even doing 20 minutes of prospecting a day. Most of us are having that reactionary kind of demeanor to ourselves where we show up hoping a buyer will call us, hoping somebody sees a social media post that we did, hoping that it just comes out of the sky. And for many of us, it does because we're social people. But I think the majority of us on this call, we rely on our personalities and being so likable. And that being the case, people just come in and they use you. But if we could actually make sure that we did 30 minutes of active searching for buyers and sellers every day, I guarantee our business would blow up. And that is the difference between the top 10 are making 400,000, and the person that's struggling can't figure out why they're only making 50. So a few things. Number one that I think is the best is texting. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but Hit 'em Up is an app that we use, that I use specifically. Hit EM Up. Hit 'em Up. And what Hit 'em Up does is it actually, you download the app and then you go into your contacts and you can create groups. So you can have your client group, you can have your family group, you can have, your girls group, you can have your fantasy football group. And then you write whatever text you want inside of the Hit 'em Up app, HITEMUP. And then it sends from your number. Because what I find is that a lot of agents are using the numbers that come from some of these programs that are marketing numbers or whatever. But it's obvious to your clients that that is not from you and it's automated. So by using Hit 'em Up, you write out an email and it says, hi, and then you just hit first name and it'll grab the first name out of your contacts, comma, I just wanted to say we took this great new listing in our company, here in San Diego. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it's only 600. It's going to go fast. Do you know anybody that may be looking to buy? Because I want to sell this thing. It's a hot property. Hope everything's great with you. First name, Chuck. So by doing that, and then what happens is you hit, so you've identified a group. Let's say you have your top 20 clients. You hit send. And then it pops that up in your email, pops that up in your text, and it says, hi, Amy. And then you hit, okay, I'm going to put something else in there. Hi, Amy. Hope John is good. Send. And then the next one pops up. hi, Bill. And then you can add something to make it personal, like boom, boom, boom. So it just continues to pull them up from your number, but it gives you the ability to just throw something in there personal so that they know it's not automated. But to me, that's the best prospecting thing you can use in the world. I think it's $5 a month. So hit them up. Make sure you consider using it. And we've had a lot of success with it. Another thing to do is sending out a text. A great reason is wishing them a happy holidays. And that's always big. And if you guys have not done your holiday cards yet, and I know a lot of us are guilty, make sure that you do that. And don't just send them a holiday card. Drop a lotto ticket in that thing. Drop a lotto ticket so that they're going to remember, hey, Scott Campbell sent me a card and it had a lotto ticket. I won $3, whatever. So just make sure that you're putting something in your Christmas cards or your holiday cards, whatever, that are memorable. And make sure you send them out. Put that in your calendar. Number 3, sending them your updated Vcard. You guys already know that. My updated contact info for my phone. Hopefully you're sending that out on January 1st every year. If you have, a new email address or additional phone numbers or whatever. Another great way to reach out is direct messages through Instagram or Facebook. Hopefully you're sending out 10. And don't forget, if you have people inside of your Facebook or your Instagram that are engaging you and you don't have them in your database, send them a direct message and just say, this is a great way to collect people's information, by the way. Hey, Peter, this is Chuck. Hope everything's great. I love sending out Christmas cards. Would you mind sending me your home address? And now I've got their home address, right? I've got their phone number and I've got their DM. So just be willing to use the DM to reach out and add people to your database. So since we can't get in front of people right now, we have to reach out digitally and make sure you're doing that. And last is, I love the idea of a story. Okay. And this it came from Steve Black, was one of our speakers on Fired Up Friday. And he basically said, who's thinking about buying or selling in 2021? And you know how you can put me, not me. What a great question to ask. Who's thinking about buying or selling in 2021? And then when they click on it, boom, you got one. I talked to one person that already put that out. They have 4 people they're working with because they put that into one of their stories. So number 5, and I really don't need to talk about this. You guys know how to prospect, but make sure that that is part of your perfect day, because for you to live the life you want, I guarantee it's going to take money. And I want you all to say it. I like money, and I'm willing to send out texts. I'm willing to call my Benawils. I'm willing to direct message, because that's going to help you live the life you want to lead. So make sure you're prospecting at least 20 minutes a day. Done preaching, I promise. All right, number 7. Don't forget the big picture. And when I'm talking about the big picture, this is the most important thing I'm going to say. The big picture, and Jason Lamoureux is going to hit on this, the big picture is your eventual financial freedom. And so many people that I talk to do not have a plan. They're reacting again. And I don't want you guys to react. I want you to have a plan of where you want to go. So I'll just tell you guys right now, when I wake up, when my eyes open and my Alexa goes off, playing my favorite Beatles songs or whatever, the first thing I think about when I open my eyes is how and what can I do today to help me get to the passive income goal that I need to make sure that I can be financially free. And you should be doing the same thing. And I'm talking about your retirement. I'm talking about having your corporations dialed in. I'm talking about, when are you going to buy your next rental? How am I going to buy my next rental? How am I going to buy my first rental? How am I going to buy my first house? But you guys need to remember that the big picture is your financial freedom. That's why we got into real estate. We got into real estate because we all wanted to hit it big. I guarantee we thought it was a lotto ticket, and it'd be a lot harder than we thought. But that's why we're here. And most of us are here and we're helping our clients buy rentals. And how many of you out there right now have sold a property to somebody that you wish to God you would have bought yourself? And my guess is the reason you didn't buy that yourself is because you weren't ready. You weren't thinking about it. And again, I'm thinking about buying a white Suburban. What happens? You're driving down the freeway. I see them everywhere. It's the same thing. If you're thinking real estate opportunities, passive income, all that sort of stuff, it just comes to you. But I just feel like people forget the big picture and they get caught up in the minutia of, the small things that really aren't going to help you get where you want to go. So if your goal is, just going to throw a magic number, and you should have this number. If I ask you, what's your passive income goal? Meaning, what's the goal? How much money do I want to have coming in that I can be comfortable in my life? Hopefully everyone out there has that magic number that every month I know if I make $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000, I'm going to be fine. But you have to start with that magic number. So what is that number for you, that passive income number? And then we're going to figure out how to get there. Whether it's going to be that little dinky rental in the senior community around your house, or whether it's going to be, a little condo that is going to rent good, or, like the billionaire who was on the call, he went down to the city. This is how that billionaire, which, Peter and Mary Beth brought him on. And I just thought it was great. Having a billionaire on the call, was amazing last Friday, and listening to his stories and what he thought was important. And when somebody asked him, how did you really do it? He said, well, I was 25 years old and I would go down to the city and I would see where the major thoroughfares were coming in. Where are the freeways going to be? Where's this major road? And he said, I'd go buy these piece of crap properties for next to nothing and forget I owned them. And someday when those came in, they became gold. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be us, but we still need to be thinking, can I get myself a little rental? Can I get a little piece of a rental? Can I get 10%? Can I talk to grandma? Maybe she wants to buy something with me. But you should just be thinking all the time about that. And I'm sorry to preach about that, but people forget that. It drives me insane. So the big question becomes, what are the first things I need to do to reach that financial freedom? Number one, if you don't have a self-employment pension, guys, or defined benefit, it's the greatest thing in the world for a realtor. Get yourself that retirement so you can start contributing off the top of your taxes, tax-free, and investing with that money so that someday when you hit 62, you can start pulling that money out. And if you don't have one, set it up, a self-employment pension. And if you want to reach out to me, I will help you. That's why I'm here. Number two, my corporation. If you're making over 80 grand and you're not incorporated, big mistake. You're probably leaving $20,000 on the table. Just little things for you to be thinking about. Number three, how am I going to buy my first rental? I don't have any money. I'll bet you can figure it out. If you spent some time trying to figure out a crossword puzzle, you're going to figure that out. You can do the same thing. You can figure out how to buy a rental. But right now, the market's so hot. I can't do it. You're borrowing at 2.5%, 3%. Most everything is still penciling. That's why we have this frenzy. So, hey, am I preaching everybody too much? Corey, am I getting crazy? All right, I'm going to calm it down. Sorry, I get upset. All right, so anyways, we're going to move on. So bottom line, obsess. That's the word. Obsess about your financial position daily. Obsess about it. If you're renting, get out of there. You're in real estate. Figure it out. Okay? Figure it out. If you think about it, it'll happen. I want you to be obsessive about your financial big picture. Sorry, I'm done. All right, get on to some not so angry stuff. All right, number 8, feed your head. That's a big one for me. Every Monday morning in our company, we have our Monday motivation. And that Monday motivation is where we will review a book or, whether it's, Think and Grow Rich or How to Win Friends or, the 12 Keys to Success or whatever. But feeding your head is everything. And I'm going to give some more credit to Mary Beth having that billionaire on. And when they asked him, what one of the number one keys are, of course, it was going down to the cities and doing all that stuff. But he said, reading books. You hear that all the time. When you're like, I'm a real estate guy. I'm a real estate lady. I don't have time to read books. But when he said, when he held up this one, he held up Think and Grow Rich, right? And he said he's read this book 500 times, the billionaire. Remember that, Mary Beth? 500 times. And then his coach who was sitting there with him said, and the best part about it, Chuck, is, to the crew, he said, the best part about it, every time he reads that book, he makes another $1 million. Every time he reads Think and Grow Rich, he makes another $1 million. So if you're not feeding your head with this quality stuff right here, you're never going to grow. You're going to stay exactly where you are. So I thought that piece of advice, Mary Beth, thank you for bringing that. You're awesome for bringing that guy on. So the cool part about feeding your head is, whether you have an interview, whether you're watching a podcast or jumping on our Fired Up Fridays, or whatever, the books, you're getting everything that Dale Carnegie had in him when he wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is, if I wrote a book a couple years ago right here. It's the 11 Commandments of Real Estate. But it took me 2 years and I put everything I had into this book. Now, nobody bought it, but that's okay. It was more of a therapy session. But the bottom line is I put everything I had into that book. And that's what a book is. In 4 to 6 hours, you can read stuff from the greats. You can get in the mind of everybody you want to, of Anthony Robbins. You can get in the mind of Dale Carnegie, of Paul Coelho, of Napoleon Hill. So if you don't jump into this stuff, you're never going to continue to grow forward. So that was the big thing I got out of that billionaire. And the breadth and depth of what they learned in their life is right here. So I'm going to give you guys some ones to think about. But if you ever did want to come check it out, you can jump on our Monday motivation calls. Is there a link or something? You can go to Coldwell Banker ABR, which is ours, or you can go to the Chuck Whitehead Show on Facebook and like it, and you guys can watch it and jump in anytime. And all we do is go over this stuff and talk about how we can all get better. So my favorite books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, best book ever, in my personal opinion. Think and Grow Rich, off the charts. Everybody's probably read that. You want to really spin your head? The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. I mean, it's that much to read and you're like, no, but I guarantee it's worth it. And The Alchemist by Paul Coelho. This book is also fantastic. And this you can read in like 2 hours and it's fantastic. So just some ideas for you. How are we doing on time? Okay. Oh, okay. I'm almost done. Number 8. Number 9, realize that difficult times in your life are going to be the ones that wake you up to the good ones. And what I mean is there's no such thing as a problem. It's only projects. And I bet you can all relate. I had some really dark things hit me in life. And I know you guys have had the same. And when that happens, the question is, how are you going to deal with it? There's no problem. There's only projects. And, the tribulations, whether divorces, bankruptcies, whatever, even my partner who had cancer and double mastectomy and all that stuff, she wouldn't take it back. She said that it was molded me and made me who I am. So, and I would never take that back. So those dark times, you just have to realize it's not a death sentence. It's temporary. So realize they're going to punch you and they're going to hit you and you just got to deal with it and roll. And last but not least, focus on making everybody's lives around you better. And the reason that Peter jumps on these calls and Chris Conrad, does what she does, and Nick and Lance and Jason and Todd is because, we want everybody to be the best they can be. And you have an obligation that anytime you see anybody around you that's asking for help or that needs help, and maybe they're not even letting you know, they're going through a divorce, they're going through, some type of financial struggle or something happened to one of their family members, just make sure you reach out because most everybody on this call, is a successful person that has an obligation to reach out and help people, and sometimes that's something you learn with age because a lot of times, don't be a fair weather friend. Like if somebody needs you, be there. And I promise you it'll come back to you 10 times. So last but not least, and I know I'm going over Nick, so I'm going to roll it into Todd here in a minute, but in summary, I'm going to go back to the beginning. And when I was talking about, or when the Admiral was talking about doing things right, being actionable and always growing, I want to just read a quote by Winston Churchill as I check out of this. And it's this, Winston Churchill. And again, this applies to both men and women. I'm just reading it exactly the way he did it. But to every man, there comes a time in his life, that special moment when he is tapped on the shoulder and offered a chance to do a very special thing. What a tragedy if that moment finds him unprepared or unqualified for the work which would have been his finest hour. So I'm going to read that one more time. To every man, there comes in his life that special moment when he's tapped on the shoulder and offered the chance to do something very special. What a tragedy if that moment finds him unprepared and unqualified for the work which would have been his finest hour. So just remember the small things, learning, your financial freedom, who you want to be. Those are the things to me that we all have to determine so that when we do get that tap, we're ready to go. So there's my 20 minutes. I'm done.